What's up, everybody? We're back again with another interview. We have Moon and Mike from Moonquill Productions or Studios. First of all, how you guys doing today? It's been a while since we all talked, got together to talk about Lord of Goblins, and we've been told that you guys have some exciting news as far as some other projects and stuff that you may want to talk about. But first, how are you guys doing? Have y'all been doing okay?
Doing well, man. We've been pretty busy the last few weeks, but we're going to Dragon Con next week, actually. So I'm gonna try and get some rest in. I don't know if Mike's gonna be able to.
I probably won't. I'll be jet lagged, pretty much. But yeah, like Moon said, we've had a busy week. I'm tired, but I'm still alive. That's all that matters, really.
That is true. That is true. First, I want to say congratulations on finishing Lord of Goblins season 1 and then starting season 2. How was the process from finishing out season 1 of Lord of Goblins, and then after that, what was the process like getting ready for season 2? Was season 2 already set to go once season 1 ended, or was it kind of like just a quick pivot on trying to get season 2 back as quick as possible?
I guess I'll take this.
Yeah, go ahead.
You got it? Oh, I got it. Okay, cool. So we actually knew basically from like when episode 10 of season 1 released on originals that we were going to have a season 2. So we were basically, as we continued season 1 stuff, when it got to the point where the art team, because the art team does, most of the actual hard lift, when they were done with season 1, they got like a few weeks break. They were able to, recuperate a little, and then they got back into it. For the other things, though, like for the script and stuff, we just kind of kept chugging along the entire time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So does Webtoons contact y'all as early as possible about your greenlit for season 2, or is it a process you have to go through to see if you're greenlit for another season?
I think for last season we contacted them. We were just like, hey, like, when do you want to talk about season 2? And pretty early on they were like, yeah, we think we'll be greenlighting a season 2. And then from that on, it was just negotiation as to if there would be any change as to like the payment structure and stuff like that. There wasn't.
Okay.
But yeah, so we're hoping that season 2 it'll perform well enough for us to get a season 3, because as of this moment it's not guaranteed yet. So it's something we're gonna have to look out for.
We're also going to launch season 2 in Latin America this September. I forgot the date. I think it's the 15th of September. So we're also kind of hoping that the translations will secure third season, but we'll see about that.
Oh, okay. So that is interesting. I've seen a lot of creators do like multiple translations in different regions. Is that something you guys do on your own to get more eyes on the series, or is it more of like Webtoons be like, hey, would you guys like to bring this over to another region to see how it performs?
I can talk about this one.
Yeah, so I originally contacted them about translations, and they pretty much told me that there was no budget, that the Latin American team was running on a skeleton crew of like a few people who only like manage the updates, basically upload the episodes on the Webtoons content system, and that's that. So we had to build our translation team from scratch, which also has a pretty funny story, because there are a lot of pirates who are scanlating our series and posting it on their own personal sites. And I knew that Lord of Goblins was pretty big in the Spanish community, because they had a lot of like AI narration, comic explainer videos that you tend to see on YouTube nowadays. So I went to the source and I found the translation team that was pirating it. I joined their Discord server and I basically told them, hey, you're already translating it. How about we pay you to translate it and you take it off your pirate sites? And well, they didn't say no. It was an immediate yes.
Infiltrated.
Yes, sir.
And that's wild.
Yeah, went to the source, shook hands.
That's a
great way of doing it, though.
Yeah, that's a good way of going about it, because most time you just see people send out DMCA strikes and all of that stuff.
Decent to say.
Yeah. So that's a good way to go about it. Be like, hey, you already doing the work. We'll just bring you into the fold, and that way, it's a win-win for
Yeah,
everybody.
Oh, legit.
Yeah.
Yeah, like another thing I want to note is that they are really passionate about translating. Like when we started out, they were sending us PDF presentations for the fonts, and like the presentations were in Lord of Goblins team. They had like all the backgrounds were like panels from the series, and then they had like 5 different variations for thought bubbles or like italic fonts. And me and Moon were like, we got the right team for the job.
Yeah, they came in swinging. They we were like, damn, dude, like we've never seen anything like this before. It was just they were definitely very enthusiastic about it. And now there's not a lot of work for them to do on the Lord of Goblins translation because they've caught up to the English and they're only going to be able to do 1 episode per week moving forward. So we're trying to see if we can help them with getting some other series translated to Spanish. So if anyone's watching and you want to translate your series to Spanish, reach out to us and we'll hook you up.
We also did daily releases, which I don't think any series has done yet. Like Webtoon Originals with daily releases with in fantasy fiction, right? Maybe for comedy, like 4 panel styles. But they were hammering these out, man. Like every day we had an episode ready without missing a single date.
Wow. And is the team big or is it a small team?
I think there are like 3 people working on it right now. There's like a proofreader, someone who translates, and then there's the boss dude who like communicates with us about progress and stuff. Yeah, I think it's 3 people.
Wow. The fact that it's 3 people and they're working that efficiently is.
Yeah. Plus, they had a flood as well, and the shortages. They were like, "Sorry for the delay. We had a flood in our town."
Yeah, I was like, "Don't worry about us,
right.
dude. You're flooded out."
Right. There's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah. So, how is the daily release been going? Is that something you guys are thinking about doing for other series, or did it go really well during the daily release cycle?
So we were in a unique position because the only way to really beat other pirates, because it's just one group doing this, but you also have other pirates who are mirroring their stuff, is to release it faster than the pirates, have a higher quality, have it for free. Basically, we had no fast pass, no reward ads, nothing. Every episode was free every day. I think that scared away most of the other pirates because I haven't seen new updates from the mirror sites.
It's hard to beat free.
Yeah, that is so true.
It really depends if we do it again because we did lose out on a bit of money there.
Yeah, we probably a lot of money to be honest. But whatever.
Did it pay off though? I mean.
The reception's it's been generally the rating is better than the English version, but I think that's because we release it for free every day. Everybody likes free episodes every day. The numbers are less impressive, and that's because the Latin American side has been heavily focused on romance, like most webtoons, but then again it's also a bit of a dead side. It hasn't been updated a lot. Readers have left and moved on to pirate sites. So we're still waiting on Webtoon actually putting more resources into Latin America again, and hopefully then we'll see an increase in subscribers.
Okay.
Yeah. We're probably gonna try and do a similar thing with the other language platforms that Webtoon has too.
Okay. Any specifics or any examples you're thinking? Okay, nothing to announce yet. Okay, all right.
Yeah, they only have so many of those, so
All right, that's great to know. It's good hearing about the different sides of the business part of making webtoons versus just the reader side and speculating and using the quote unquote headcanon to try to figure out what's going on behind the scenes. So it's always good to get little tidbits like that for people. So you guys have some other series I know you're working on. How is it producing multiple series at one time?
Well, Moon, you go ahead.
Okay. All right. So I'm currently directly producing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 and a. Two of them are like halves. Oh wait, there's another. So like basically 7.
Mm-hmm.
But wait, yeah, basically 7, but it's really more like 8. It's quite a bit. You really need to have a good scriptwriter who's able to take a lot of the who's able to handle a lot of the like story specific things, so that I can kind of just be like a facilitator and like someone who just makes sure like the quality's up to par, and like nothing's weird. Like ideally, right, I have a scriptwriter who can almost act as a, you know, like a sub producer, and I just kind of go in and almost act like a critical reader, right? That's kind of like the ideal situation where I can go in and I just kind of read the thing. I have that fresh perspective, and I can, you know, just let the art team, usually the art team, know what's needed. But it's tough because you have to swap between all of the stories, and then especially because we're also a publisher and we deal with books as well, I have to worry about those as well. It's kind of interesting because there's unique challenges to every single project we're on. For example, one of the art studios we work with, they're a little weaker on a communication side, and they have really good character art, but their backgrounds are a little weaker. Another one of our art studios, you know, they're better with communication, but sometimes they tend to be a little they tend to miss things sometimes. Like they just kind of have blank spots in their vision and how they interpret things. So that's a different challenge. And then occasionally we have the team that we work with where everything just comes together and it's really easy, and I really appreciate those.
That's really good. So from your perspective, Moon, is it really difficult to be a producer when it comes to webtoons and getting them started, or whether it's getting them started off the ground or just actually just pitching or whatever the case?
I think it's harder than some people think. But once you kind of get it, I think it depends on the story, really, because some especially because we're in the adaptation space where we mostly do adaptations of novels into webcomics. It's got this level of difficulty where you have to mostly stay true to the original material so that the, you know, fans of the original material aren't pissed off by the changes you make. But you also have to adapt it so that it reads better in a webcomic format. That's something I have actually struggled with pretty recently. And we have a webcomic that we're working on that was paced just a little too slow. So we're actually scrapping a lot of the content, and we're going to be redoing it and consolidating it the beginning so that we get into kind of the meat of the story a little faster, because it's one thing to, you know, have to read through 20 chapters of a book to get to like the proper story. Like, you know, you can have interesting things along the way, but, you know, 20 chapters of a book might take you like a week or something like that. A webcomic, you know, that's going to be 20 weeks of them in the sub story, the introduction. And then after 20 weeks, it's going to change. And that's just a no-go, right? So that's something where
it's gone after like the first 3 episodes or something.
Exactly. So we're consolidating the introduction so that it's like the first 3 episodes, and we get into the what the rest of the story is going to be like at the end of that 3rd episode. I think that's the plan for now. Whereas it was still like a interesting story, the previous version that we had. It's just that after episode 20, it would have changed from like action adventure to like magic school, right? So it would have been probably quite a shock to some of the readers, a little different from their initial expectations. I
Did you guys think about doing like a long prologue and then going into it,
so
like labeling like a prologue? Because I mean, some people understand like it being a prologue instead of like it being referenced as an episode, right? Because like you look at it differently at that point. You look at a prologue for kind of what it is, and then going into the episodes, you expect a little bit something different. At least that's how I look at it. So
the way we're going to do it is we're probably going. It's still a lot of things happening that we're gonna consolidate down to those 3 episodes. They're probably just gonna be 3 really long episodes. But yeah, functionally, like you said, it's going to basically be a prologue. It's gonna be like the pre-story, and then we're gonna get into the meat of it. The problem is you can't have 20 episodes of prologue, right? So
right,
Yeah.
yeah. Going back to the original question though, like how difficult I think it is. I think it's more difficult than people think, but it's not hard once you kind of understand a few things. I do think it's harder than people think because we've seen a lot of authors in that we know a lot of authors who've tried to make their own webcomics, and a lot of the results are honestly just they got scammed is basically what we can shorten it down to. Like a friend of ours who we're actually making a webcomic for now, he's one of the, I guess, 9 that we're producing. He paid the same amount we pay to a top tier, like world-class studio like Hisai or KP Comics. And he was paying them the same panel rate, and the output he got was like equivalent of like a middle school like drawing, right? And I'm just like, you paid how much for this? And like he told me, and I was like, Christ, dude. Like there's just a lot of basic knowledge that people entering the space don't really understand, like what kind of art they should be looking for, just how important a good scriptwriter is. And just honestly, like they need advice. I think that's what it really boils down to. They need advice on how to get started. Once you know what pitfalls to look for, you can kind of forge ahead pretty safely. Like you might not produce like the best webcomic on your first try, but at least you'll make something that will be average or above average, and then you can continue from there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you have any advice for those who may want to go into the route of producing, or maybe even just like you said, people just starting out making their own, as far as like any tips and tricks when starting out they should know about, especially since you said the guy that you knew, you know, pretty much all intents and purposes got scammed. You know.
Yeah. Well, I'd say if you have the money for it, try and find a good studio to work with, because I think working with a good studio that already kind of knows the process of making a webcomic inside and out, and what will work and what won't work, will help a lot. For example, that person, right? We're hooking up with Kisai Entertainment. They make a lot of really popular webcomics. I think they're the current art studio, I think, for the beginning after the end. And
Okay. Wait,
they've done a lot.
The one that just got canceled, or the one that Turtle Me just kind of ousted, or the new studio they're going to? Because Turtle Me recently just put that series on hiatus because they're kicking out whatever studio that was currently doing it and going to a complete new one. Wait, which I found was
right now.
It's the one they kicked. It's the one they kicked out.
Okay.
But they do a lot of big series.
Okay.
And while, you know, there's variation in their quality, depending on who's available at the time, if you have a good relationship with them, they'll be like, this artist is good, you're safe with us, with them.
Okay.
It's a little unfortunate that happened, but they're still really good. The CEO still understands what makes a good webcomic, and when working with them, they can help you with a lot of things, right? So for example, one of our webcomics, we had a kind of slow start, and they were like, and they told us that, hey, you're gonna need like a bigger grab in the first episode to get readers interested. Why don't we make like an episode 0 where we just, or prologue, where we just like go all out. It's a really fun like action sequence. It doesn't, and it kind of just shows where the story's going to be in the future, and it shows like how cool everything can be. And we're like, that sounds absolutely wonderful. It'll help draw readers in. Why not? We'll do it, right? So that's, you know, one of the things that they can do. Give a lot of advice there. Don't work with solo artists, I think, is another thing I would say. If you can't work with one of the top studios, at least work with a team. Because when you're working with a solo artist, one, they're not going to be able to do the output you need for any kind of commercial success. It's just not possible, right? When we make a webcomic, when we produce a webcomic, where you have like 5 chapters being made at the same time, right? They're just at different stages. One chapter's being scripted, another's in storyboard, another's in sketch, another's in line art, another's in color, and another's in typesetting, right? So it's kind of almost like an assembly line. If you have a single artist working on it where they can only do one of those things at a time, you're never going to be able to output enough episodes where you can release at any sort of a reasonable schedule, and that's just going to kill your comic on drop. What you can do is, if you have an artist that you really like, for example, one of the an author that I'm helping produce a webcomic for. Mike actually might not know about this, so he's learning about this. He found this artist that he really, really likes. She has an incredible aesthetic. All of her art on Instagram is just like, you look at it and you're like, damn, that looks good, right? So he was like, I want her as my main artist. And then he was like, well, I still need other people to do all the other roles because I want to be able to, you know, produce at a reasonable rate. So he went out and he basically talked to KP Comic Studio, and not directly, but long story short, he basically got a team from KP Comic Studio to back up this main artist. So he's still getting the incredible like line art and style of that main artist, but he's now able to do it on the scale that he needs to.
Okay.
And that could be a really nice way to get a really good art style going with a particular artist that you want to work with.
That's interesting. That kind of brings me to a question I've always wondered. Especially when it's coming from like a novel point, how is it, let me rephrase it. Okay. How's the process of finding an artist who kind of shares your vision on what you want the series to look like when adapting it from novel to webcomic? Is that a hard process to do with any artist? It don't have to be just, you know, a person you have in mind, or could it just be any artist or studio? Is that a hard process to get to come together to get that vision onto, you know, a webtoon format?
For us, because we work more with studios, it's less hard and more time consuming because we have a good enough relationship with these studios where we can kind of tell them like, hey, this is what we want to make a webcomic for. It's in this kind of setting. It's, you know, fantasy action, mostly what we do. We're going to need an artist who can do these things well, right? So we have a good enough relationship with these art studios where they'll be like, okay, I have a team. They're available at this time, right? So usually it's not a difficult thing of, hey, we need to find an artist who likes and is good at doing fantasy action or like, you know, like medieval and like swords and monsters and stuff. It's more of, we have to wait for them to be available because the good ones are usually pretty busy.
Yeah.
So for one of our webcomics that we're producing, we've been waiting for an art team for about half a year now. And that's a long time, but it's something, you know, we'd rather wait half a year to get the right artist than make 10 episodes, put a ton of money into it, and be like, well, we don't really like them.
Yeah.
So, that being said, if you do go the route of finding the artist yourself, it might be a little difficult. A lot of really good artists don't want to do webcomics because just how stressful it is. You have to output a lot. You're basically going to be working all the goddamn time.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of the really popular artists don't want to do it. They don't need to do it. There's a select few who still want to go that route, and you kind of have to narrow down from there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely pretty hard to go that route.
Yeah, I'd like to pitch in a bit. You guys interviewed the artist behind Just a Goblin, right?
Mhm.
Dupan. So you know how much time it takes for like a solo artist with maybe like an assistant or two
Mm-hmm.
to go full production on a webtoon, on the
Yeah.
art side at least.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot of time. Which from talking to, a lot of people that we've talked to, it amazes me how, you have some creators out there like Brent, for example, who works on Ordeal, how he does everything himself. From the art, the storyboarding.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And the fact that after season 1, he said he didn't, he was upset because he didn't like the art on season 1. And he said, I can make this so much better in season 2 as far as the art goes. And for a lot of the readers and a lot of people who watched the interview, they was like, that's crazy because we all loved the art in season 1.
Right.
So
That was incredible.
yeah, we felt it was really good art. So, and just the fact that he's continuing to do it all on his own, and knowing the process that, the artists, the authors, and everybody has to go through in order to just get one panel completed is actually pretty amazing. So I definitely understand what you guys are saying as far as like, it's definitely better to get a studio or at least a team that can help facilitate and make the process as easy as possible.
Yeah. It's I can tell you there's a vetted list of art assistants that a lot of the webtoon original creators share, and they like vouch for they vouch for the assistants on that list because it's required. You need the help.
Mm-hmm.
That guy is doing that himself. That's just crazy. That's, I don't even understand that, to be honest. That's just mental.
Yeah, we told him like, you might want to get assistance soon because last thing you want is just to get burnt out or God forbid you get injured or something like that doing whatever, and then you have to go on a extended hiatus and you have to go right back to it once you get better. So at least if you have assistance, it can kind of take some of the burden off of you, so you won't have to push as hard as you're currently doing.
Yeah, and the same also kind of applies to a lesser extent to authors. If you take Turtle Me, for example,
Mhm.
he's actively serializing T-Bait whilst writing the scripts, handling production, all of that. And I mean, you've seen how his health has been in the previous years. He had the heart attack and stuff. So yeah, having a team like delegating the work is definitely very important to keep production on track and
Mhm.
stay healthy.
Definitely agree with that. So how many, I guess let's pivot to this point. So we know you guys are clearly working with Naver for Lords of Goblins. Are you working with any other publishers for any other series, and how is it to work with the different publishers?
I mean, if you want to go, Moon.
All right. We do have a news story from that we're making with Voice Me.
Mm-hmm.
It's been honestly pretty similar because for us at least, working with both of them, Webtoon and Voice Me, they've both been pretty hands off. They've pretty much adapted a you can do what you do, stance, and I don't know. It feels basically the same if I'm being honest.
Okay.
I think Voice Me does have some additional requirements from us once we do start serializing, but for the most part, the experience has been basically the same. Like 99% of our interaction with them is just like, hey, like there's a deadline coming, just make sure you don't hit it. Hey, well, for Webtoon is like, hey, like, can we get a banner? That's us asking them, and then they're going like, well, maybe we can fit you on this day. And I kind of anticipate it'll probably be pretty similar with Voice Me.
Mm-hmm.
They are a little more for them, there's a little more direct interaction with the investors on their side, where they have certain KPIs they need to hit, that where they're small enough that those kind of trickle down to the individual series. So I think we're going to be launching Mike's new comic. It's called Legendary Retirement. The first book will also be publishing on Amazon on September 24th, courtesy of Athon Books. So that'll be nice, but we're gonna be launching the webcomic probably, I think, late this year. Whereas I think if we were working with Webtoon, we would have delayed it to maybe like March of next year. So that's one of those things where like they really wanted to make sure that they hit certain KPIs in 2024 rather than 2025. So that's basically it for the most part, though. For all of the production side, how the story goes and all of that, we're in complete control, working with both companies.
Okay.
I think the main difference is going to come upon release, because Voice Me has a lot of traffic going for it right now, but not a lot of like user conversions, followers, subscribers. I mean, if you look at the God game, for example, a lot of traffic, over like 20 million views, but like only about 50k like active subscribers right now in the series. So we'll have to see how the release is received, because I don't believe there is a monetization system yet in place for the platform too. So we'll have to see how that goes.
Okay. All right. Has there been any publishers you work, and you don't have to name names, any publishers that you work with that are very difficult to work with compared to Naver and Voice Me?
We only work with Naver and Voice Me for now.
All right.
For the most part, it's been good. I'll just say, there was one dude that I had a meeting with at Webtoon who I did not like talking to him. I don't even know his name anymore, but I just want to make it very clear. I like working with Naver. Most of the people I've worked with at Webtoon are very, very cool. This one guy, he was saying stuff where I was going like, I hope to God I don't end up working with this guy. And we didn't. So it all worked out.
And was he like a editor or just a POC, person of contact, on a particular series or whatever you guys were doing?
He works with other series.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, makes sense.
But like by and large, it's been a very pleasant experience in the working with webcomics overall. You don't really get into it usually, unless you are passionate about it. Like this isn't really a niche that I feel like you just stumble into, where you're just like, coming out of college or applying to jobs and you're just like, well, I guess I'm applying to the webcomic jobs, right? You really only find it and apply to it if you like webcomics, I feel like, or something adjacent like books or TV and stuff like that.
Okay.
Is there any other platform you would like to work with that's out there?
Dude, we've been trying to work with Tapas for so long. They won't respond to us.
Really?
Wow. Dude. Every time I reach out to Tapas, I just get stonewalled. Like, Tapas, if you see this, I'd love to work with you guys. Every single time I contact you guys, it's just a no comms, man. the first time I reached out to them, I was like, hey, we make some webcomics. Here's some proof of the work we do. We'd love to make some webcomics with you. And then I got a reply, and it was like, it's cool that you want to make webcomics. Do you have any books available? And I was like, well, I guess we do, but mostly we'd like to work with you on webcomics. And it was like, let's see what books you got. And I was like, all right. And then we sent them the books over, and then no communication after that. And then the second time we reached out was about a month or two ago. We got a little bit of communication. We got the contact through an agent friend of ours who had a contact at Tapas, although I think they have a lot of turnover because the contact we had with them left. So I do hear they're making more webcomics now. We would love to make some webcomics with you. But yeah, we tried to communicate with them. We got directed to someone who was like the director of webcomics or something. I sent an email to them, no response. We'll try again in a few months or something like that. But honestly, we have a good amount of projects at current. That's more of something like looking into the future, right? We would really like to diversify the people we work with. Just kind of we like working a little bit with everyone. We don't like putting all of our eggs in one basket.
That makes sense.
Especially in the webcomics industry right now, where it's so dominated by certain companies.
Yeah, that makes sense. I would definitely agree with that. Getting in touch with Tapas was a lot easier before they got acquired by Cacao Page. Definitely a lot easier.
I've heard that.
Yeah, it was definitely a lot easier to at least, even though before they got acquired, it was pretty difficult. But it's really difficult now to even get anybody to respond to you since they've been acquired. So, because I've sent multiple emails to them and stuff about different things and never got a response. So,
it's hard.
Yeah, definitely hard.
It's fine though. Like, honestly, we when we first made Lord of Goblins, we reached out to Webtoon and they completely ignored us too. We were like, all right, we'll post on Canvas. We'll get your attention that way, and it worked out.
Yeah. That is good for the Canvas scene though. A lot of it's just Canvas is so much, man. I was looking through Canvas the other day, and it was just fans translation scan of a series that don't even belong to them on there. Like I've seen Dragon Ball Z on there. I've seen Naruto on there. I've seen what was another series? I've seen Solo Leveling at one time on there as well. So it and of course, you have different creators. Sometimes you have certain creators doing more than one series on Canvas, and it's just so much. I really wish Naver can find a way to kind of clean it up a bit. At least make it easier to look for series and search and just find good series out there. Because now it's being flooded with a lot of AI series, which granted, I understand. AI is such a fickle thing, which I really want to get both of y'all opinions on that, because I understand AI from a certain aspect. Like, let's say you're not good at drawing and you can't find an artist, or you can't afford to get an artist. So you have your story and you use AI to make the art for your story, because either one can't draw or two can't find an artist. So I understand it from that aspect. That you do want to get your story out there, but you have no funds or means in order to get it out there other by this particular means. And you have some people who have a story in mind and they can't get it to come together, so they use AI to kind of fill in the parts that they can't get to come together to make it a cohesive story. So I understand it from that aspect as well. But what are y'all thoughts on AI? Are you opposed? Because it seems it's only either one or the other. Either you're really opposed to it or you're for it.
I'll go first, I guess. I I believe that AI is here to stay. It won't go away. But right now, I'd only use it for ideation, and by that I mean, with webcomics, you have like the storyboard phase, where you're just thinking about the structure of the panels, how many panels you want to have, where the dialogue bubbles will be and stuff. And I believe it has a place there, because it does save a lot of time if you can just generate storyboards, go through like 5 different variants, and then sketch over it, or just trace parts of it. But then there are also series that have come out. I won't name them because I know the authors, but the backgrounds on these series are AI. And you can clearly see it. Like the line art all looks fine, but the backgrounds, you have floating trees, and it's just like, come on, at least try to hide it a bit. But yeah, that's my stance. So ideation, everything else post-production should be done by humans, at least for the time being.
Okay. What about you, Moon?
Yeah. I'm a little more lenient on AI, I think certain models, because for those who don't know, right, a lot of backgrounds and locations, right, if the team knows that it's going to be used a lot, they'll just make 3D models. They won't hand draw it every time, and that way it'll still look good in the background and you don't have to draw it every time. It saves a lot of time, right? I think that perhaps AI could be used a little in helping develop those models. With the simpler ones, probably, like if you're making like a whole like elaborate building, like a mansion or a city or something like that, no AI. It's gonna mess you up. Maybe just as like the basic outline or something. But I think more and more we're gonna see stuff like what Mike said about the backgrounds, where a lot of the background creation is going to be AI, and I think using it for specific elements might not be that bad. I just don't want to see a world where like the characters are all AI, and like all of the weapons and the skills they use are just AI just shat out. I don't want to see that, but if it's like a tool for something that's more in the background that people aren't going to really like if it's just something that will help speed up the process, because one of the main issues right now with webcomics is the amount of just absolute time it takes, right? A lot of the artists are working like 60-hour minimum work weeks. If a little bit of AI in there to help them draw a random tree in the background, granted hopefully it's not floating, but if it helps them make some trees in the background, your average reader isn't going to care about the random trees in the background unless they look weird. Maybe the grass, maybe the sky a little, right? If the clouds, are
just used to like offload some of that extra workload, right? Like
yeah, exactly. Yeah, where
so more support, not like a full creator for you, right? Like
yeah. Don't get rid of the artist. Help the artist is basically what my
Right.
stance is on that. I swear to God, though, if we see full-on like AI characters like in the foreground, like in focus, I'm not gonna be happy about it.
oh,
That's
coming, bro.
Yeah.
Hopefully not too soon.
Also, talking about the work and stuff, webtoon artists, at least some of them, are kind of being pushed in the AI direction to meet deadlines. I can't recall the names, but I've seen some webtoon original artists kind of being forced to use it to meet deadlines because they have like one assistant and they need to release every week, or if depending on the series, maybe 2 times a week. And it's disheartening to see it used that way, because that the artist has the capacity to do it themselves if they had a bit more time to produce it. It also depends on the future of the medium, I guess, and the companies associated with it.
Yeah, it's definitely a touchy subject, because I think more people fear it just on what it could become rather than what it currently is. Which I can't, fault them for feeling that way, because if you're only focused on what it currently is and not where it can potentially go, then by the time it gets to that point, it's too late and you can't really stop it. But it's also
the evolution of it is happening super fast.
Yeah.
Like if you check some of the stuff with like Sora 2 months ago and look at it now, it's crazy. It's super crazy. like how fast it's evolving, how much smarter it's getting. At first, it couldn't get numbers correct. Now it can like line the numbers up, spell stuff out like evenly. Some of the work is crazy with it, dude. It shock you. Like you almost can't. It's getting to a point too where you almost can't tell what it is too. Like at least like when they start doing like real world stuff, like not so much like the art style, I guess, like or just the artist work. But when it comes to like stuff that's trying to like be like us and move like us, dude, it's getting crazy. And even they have AI coming where like even for like the video games, right? Like there's one where you can just kind of like I feel like playing this, and it'll just like generate that type of game for you. It's like I want to do a big team battle, 8 versus 8 in a Roman Empire realm, like, and it will just put it on screen for you, and you can play it. I mean, it steals assets from like other games. That's the thing that's also sketch about it. Like it steals a lot of assets from all over the place. So at some point, you may see somewhere your work end up in something that's not even yours. So that's the thing that's also like, I feel like it's super negative.
Yeah. So some of our characters got like put into a model.
Oh yeah.
Laura, it's called, and yeah, people are able to like generate Gorza right now. I think I haven't seen others yet. But yeah, people are like training models on our webcomic characters, like at least one of them that I know of. So it's even happening with like medium, average sized webtoon originals. So I don't want to know what's happening with the very popular ones right now.
Yeah, it's definitely taken over. We've all seen and heard of Hollywood using AI to make scripts now, to get whether it's episodes of shows out faster, or we want to try something where a movie, so let's test out this AI script and put it into movie format and put it out and see how well receptive it is, make a full production movie out of it. And like you said, G, with the Sora thing, like I remember when they first showed it, Will Smith eating, what was it? Was it spaghetti when it first came out, the AI video? And then now it looks completely different, like it's actually him now. So it's definitely moving very quickly.
The AI like speeches that they've been doing for the presidential race and stuff, that's pretty crazy, because like the mouth moves like it's saying the words that it's saying. And the words are a little wild, but at some point you're just like you like actually have to go and check, like they didn't actually say that, right? So it's that's gonna be a big problem, I think, in the future.
And even in the music industry, you have people using AI and making whole songs now with the person's voice.
Yeah,
and it's really, and a lot of times it's very hard to distinguish, is that actually that person, or did somebody use AI and made it seem like it was that person?
And that's just now, so just wait. Like I said, like the pace is moving, bro. In like 4 months, you need to tell the difference.
Yeah,
at all. So,
yeah, it is what it
totally
is.
Different animal.
Yeah. But every industry is
like
investing
like
heavily
Mike said,
in it.
using it for like a support and help like that. I feel like that's cool. But just whenever you're using it as like full creation, which at that point it's going to start stealing assets from wherever it can because of what you type in. Like I need a guy with long hair and muscles, and then it gives you part of Goku and part of like this person and that person. Like that's where it's going to get like out of hand, so
Yeah,
just in the wrong creator's hands, I guess, at that point.
yeah. I mean, I'm kind of interested to see where it goes. I think public outcry is like the only thing keeping it kind of in check right now, where companies aren't willing to completely use AI for everything. So
yeah, I think
hopefully that keeps up.
In the long run, content will always stay king. Just the sheer content. If it comes to a point where it's like very high quality, where you can barely differentiate between human content and AI generated content, the end user isn't going to care about it, I think, like so much as they are now.
Yeah. Like I always say, it always takes one piece of content that's AI driven or AI made to make it big, and that's going to open the floodgates. All it takes is one, and they're not going to tell you to after. Well, if they're smart, they're not going to tell you to after whatever that content is comes out and makes it successful. Because it's still the notion that if you say it beforehand, then it's going to have a negative light on it regardless of how good that piece of content is. But all it's going to take is one. It just takes one piece of content to blow up, and that's going to open the floodgates. And then, because every industry is already investing heavily in it, so like we all said, it's only a matter of time really before it's going to be a requirement in a lot of things we do. So yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm not opposed or I guess I'm kind of in the middle. It's just all about how it's used at the end of the day.
Exactly. It's always going to come down to how it's used.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So, Mike, you have a series you're working on, huh? You want to talk some more about that? Moon mentioned it earlier. I hope you didn't think I didn't hear that. I just let that slide.
Yeah, I was actually writing episode 9 for it today.
Mm-hmm.
I still have to finish it. But yeah, it's being serialized on Royal Road. Like I don't think Moon mentioned this, but yeah, it's being published by Aton Books on Amazon in September.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, I'm just focusing on adapting the first book to webtoon form. Moon is helping me with producing it. He said we're doing it with KP. Do you know Greatest Estate Developer? Because this is going to be real easy if I can explain it that way.
Mm-hmm.
It's like
one of my favorites.
That type of story.
Mm-hmm.
Like we have the faces, the satire.
And I remember we talked about that in Discord too. Talked about Greatest Estate.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be honest. I don't think anyone can reach what Greatest Estate Developer does, because they clearly have. I don't know if it's the same person who comes up with the
faces
stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even just like the in episode storylines
mm-hmm.
and what they say and the art, but it just ties together so well. And I feel like that's something that you're just never going to be able to achieve when you're working in as big of a team as we are,
mm-hmm.
because there's just always going to be a little disconnect between what Mike wants and what the artists understand, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if they're different people handling it for Greatest Estate Developer, they gotta be tight,
Mm-hmm.
They gotta be on the same page.
Yeah, it's like sorry.
I was just gonna say, but I think we're doing a great job.
Yeah. So Moon is helping me with producing this, but I'm also taking more of a bigger role in the production this time around than with Lord of Goblins, where I was just one of the authors, supervising the scripts and making sure it's coherent with the story.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like you said, you have to be very specific about certain things, because first off, the comedy might not always hit the same for other people. They might not understand the joke. If I don't give them enough reference material for the expressions or what they're wearing in pre-production, then production can be delayed by a few weeks, because right now we had a problem with the background characters, for example, and I didn't expect it to take that long to swap out background characters.
Mm-hmm.
But every small thing adds up in delaying or speeding up the production timelines. But yeah, I don't know how it's gonna perform on Amazon or in comic form. I like it, Moon likes it, but we are biased, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
It's one review told me on Row Road, it's that the comedy might be very funny to some people, but to others it's not gonna hit at all. They're not gonna like it at all, I think.
Yeah, comedy's always a fickle thing. It just depends on the person. So, what's the synopsis of the story?
The synopsis, well, okay, so what happens to legends, after they're done with their job, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, in our story, the story we're producing, they retire and they go to this village, which is shielded from the outside world, basically. And to give you a bit more context, like about the early, like a prologue or something, or early first episodes, basically the barrier around the village breaks down and people start flooding in from the outside world investigating it. That's pretty much the premise of the story, and from there it only gets crazier basically.
Okay. Sounds interesting to me.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting read. It's like fantasy comedy with a bit of seriousness in there. There are some serious arcs. Yeah, it's kind of interesting because you get to play with a lot of different things with that kind of story, because it's an ensemble cast, so you get to play with different main characters. And then because there's also a time difference from when these legends, retired to the current world, you're also able to play with a lot of like that sort of aspect where, he's like, this wasn't how it was in my time. And, they've perhaps, as most heroes do, they perhaps made some mistakes during their original journey. They may have, lost certain people who are important to them. So you get to set up these scenarios where they may or may not rectify those problems from their first life.
Okay.
Plus, it's also more of a sandbox than Lord of Goblins is, because we're trying to build this multiverse around it with the myriad worlds, where the legends from, say, the first volume travel to another place in the second volume and so forth, kind of like an MCU type of deal. So you get a lot of freedom if you go that route, whereas with Lord of Goblins it's just one world. You can't really do too much crazy stuff with the plot because it still has to progress slowly, because it's that type of story. So it's also refreshing to work on something else.
Okay. All right. That sounds very interesting. I'll be definitely keeping an eye out for that one. Moon, do you have any projects that are close to being announced or coming out that you can speak on?
Damn, I don't know. I mean, I'm helping with 2 webcomics that are headed to Canvas. One of them is currently on Canvas.
Okay.
It launched like a week or 2. I can do math. 2.5 weeks ago. It's called Revenant. It's made by one of the people who used to be really popular on Voice Me. He made Devil Up, I think is what the. Yeah, so he's making a new story
Devil
now.
Up's good.
It's
Yeah,
on.
you read that, Hanji. Double up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so he's made a.
Is that a Brendan Chan story, or am I just?
No, it's not. It's not.
Okay.
It's a Jordan.
Okay.
Yeah, so he's posting that on Webtoon Canvas. He's hoping that Webtoon will pick it up as an original after a while. And then there's also the dude I was talking about before, who went out and found his own main artist and then paired with KP. I've been helping with that a little bit too, and I think that'll be headed to Canvas pretty soon as well. As for my own personal productions, nothing immediately. I think maybe late 2024 or early 25, there's a really big IP made by a friend of me and Mike's, Sean Wilson. He wrote this story called Ultimate Level 1. It's selling on Amazon. It basically exploded in popularity, and he came to us to make a webcomic for him. And we're also, I think, we're going to like kind of double up, where we're going to send Webtoon a pitch deck and everything for that. And then we're also probably going to launch it on Canvas. This kind of goes into the tips thing earlier. I think even if you have the capability to go directly to a Webtoon original, it might be worth it to go to Canvas first anyway, just to get some it's
Age like an interest level.
It's more of just like visibility, right? Because there's so many Webtoon originals now that even when you launch, right, you get a banner for like maybe 2 days, and then after that, you're kind of just screwed because you're sat behind all of these other webcomics that have been out for, maybe close to a decade at this point, right? So you're fighting a massive uphill battle to A, get any eyeballs on your work, and B, you gotta make money on Webtoon originals, right? Like that's not not making money is not an option. So you have to do everything you can to set yourself up for success as soon as possible, right? So I think even though Webtoon Canvas is, compared to Webtoon Original, not very visible, if you have a good product, a good webcomic, and you get to like one of those like top 5 slots in your genre on Webtoon Canvas, you'll actually get a lot more visibility than if you just launch to Webtoon Originals directly. So I think that's something that people should try. And if you don't get into one of those top 5 spots, maybe that's also a sign, like maybe try again, maybe revamp your story, whatever. But I think it's pretty needed nowadays, honestly, to go that route.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, there is this gold rush of IPs right now, especially on Webtoon, where they try to license as many cheap Korean IPs, because we know that it's cheap. We've talked to the people who license them, and they end up burying the Western originals mostly. Like for example, for the launch of Lord of Goblins, the 2nd season, Moon didn't even know that we got a banner for it until I told him. We basically got like the 2nd slot on the homepage banner for a day, and that's it. Like we don't get anything else. We have to really ask them multiple times and provide all the art ourselves as well. So unless something changes in that regard, I don't think originals are gonna get any easier in the future.
Yeah, I definitely understand, because I remember, I want to say it was last year. I don't even know when it stopped, but when they have new series they're bringing, they used to put it on Webtoon Now and then release Webtoon Now and have what's launching in January, what's launching in February, what's returning this month, that month. And I think the change really all started once Kakao Page came into the fold. They bought Tapas, and then from then on it became a massive IP grab, to grab as many IPs as possible from each other. That's pretty much what it became. It was like both of them are fighting because there's so many IPs out there, and they're just trying to grab them all up before the other can. And now Webtoon doesn't even do the whole Webtoon Now anything anymore. They just drop them every single day. Every single day or every other day, it's a new series, whether it's romance, action, fantasy, lit RPG, whatever the case may be. That's how they're doing it now. So every day you can, or pretty much every day, you can pretty much expect a new series to drop. And you might see that banner, like prime example, Nebula Civilization, that came out 2 weeks ago. No, probably 3 or 4, maybe somewhere around there. It was not long ago, but it was long enough. So I probably want to say probably about a month ago. They had the banner on there for that day, and for the day it officially came out, and the day after, and then the banner disappeared. And if you look on where they have new series on the app, and where it has new series, you'll see Gwen Charm Village Mystery, Superhuman Era, those particular series. But Nebula Civilization never appeared on that. It just got buried.
Yeah, it sucks.
Yeah. Also, like, here's the thing: Nebula Civilization, and I think another one recently launched. I went to the authors, the creators' Instagram. They're Korean artists. When you compare the numbers in Korea, like those series are pretty popular in Korea. And when I go on Webtoon, like the English portal, it's like 50,000 subscribers, like not even 1 million views or something, and it's just gone. Like you either see it on launch day, or you don't know it even exists. And also it doesn't help that, and I know this because a Webtoon original creator shared this in the private Discord They found the ad campaigns on Google Play and YouTube and stuff for the Webtoon app, and they only translate like 3 big series. I think it's Graveyard School Bus, Lore Olympus, and something else. Not sure what anymore. And also on their social media accounts, they also promote very specific things like Lore Olympus explained in 20 seconds, part 5, or like version 5. And then I'm like, there are so many series that could use more of this, that might do a lot better if you give them the, light of day.
Yeah, I would like to say I understand the reason behind that, but I really don't. Because I understand from the standpoint like Lore Olympus is very popular. It's very popular. It's one of their most high-ranking series they have. So I understand it. Like, it's easier to push it and to get traffic and buzz. But at the same time, not everybody is going to be a fan of Lore Olympus. Or a lot of people, because also you have the thing when series go on for a certain amount of time, a lot of the fan base starts to drop off just because the series too long or it just doesn't interest them anymore. And you have a lot of these other series that's up and coming or that's at least brand new to the platform that in some people's eyes, if not a good bit, are better than that main series that they're promoting. Like, for example, this is no disrespect to this, author or whatever, True Beauty, for example. I know a lot of people do not like True Beauty. At least where it went from where it started. They do not like it. And Webtoon does push that series a lot. When it was still going before it ended. They pushed True Beauty a lot. And it was like a lot of other romance series that people like, why won't, Naver push this particular series over True Beauty? So, like I said, I get it from the business standpoint, but also I don't, because there are a lot of other series out there that you can push and make popular just from the push.
My thing on it is just that a lot of these series that are coming out now don't even get a proper chance to show if they're going to be popular or not, right? Because if nobody sees it to begin with, right, you don't get enough of that like initial wave for people to talk about it, because maybe someone will really enjoy it and they'll try and talk to someone about it and just like, well, I've never heard of it. And it's like, dude, you should go read it. And there's like, I got 10 other things to read, dude. you know? And I think they should try and ensure that each series gets at least enough visibility so that they have a good chance of like hitting that benchmark where they're big enough that people look at their numbers when they are looking for stores, and they just don't go, well, this didn't really do well, so I guess it's probably not good, I'm just gonna go to another one. And I think that's something that's not really happening. Just to go back to Mike talking about Korean webcomics and how cheap they are. On the business side, I don't really blame Webtoon for doing what they do, because we found out how expensive those series are. And like a top series, I'm not going to give exact numbers, but like you could buy like 7 top series, like really popular ones from Korea, for 7 of them for the same cost of just funding one new webcomic original. So like at that point, you're just like, I kind of get why.
Yeah.
And that's just the base money amount. When you factor in royalty payments, they also have to pay the Koreans less on the English translation than they would a webcomic original creator on our side. So financially speaking, it all makes sense for them. So on a business level, I don't fault them for that at all. On a personal level, it would be really cool for them to just fund more webcomic originals. Yeah,
it's also like not only Korean IPs. I went to Frankfurt last year, to meet with like various publishers, and I was surprised to see the publishers of Slime Tensei there, Micro Magazine. You guys know Slime, right? The anime was
Reincarnated.
pretty big anime. Yeah, made as a slime. So I met up with them, and I basically asked how much it would cost to license, say, the novel to the Slime series, and it was something along like 4 figures or something. Like I could have paid for it were the rights not taken, and I was just surprised about it. So yeah, like Moon said, I don't blame them either. It's probably making them good money.
Yeah.
Translations are cheap.
Well, I definitely didn't know. Definitely didn't know translations was that cheap as far as like getting series over to the Western side. So that's actually some good knowledge you guys gave me and gave us. So definitely appreciate that. But we don't want to keep you guys too long. So before we wrap up, anything else you guys want to promote or get out there for people to look forward to, or something that's getting ready to drop, or anything to
Lord
that
of
nature?
Goblins Season 2, baby. Lord of Goblins Season 2 is going to look fantastic. The art is an upgrade over Season 1. They're also just above ground now, so like spoilers. But actually not even spoilers. We showed that in the last episode of Season 1. Yeah, but it's not just going to be cave walls now. So
Okay.
yeah, a lot of big things.
As for me, keep a look on Amazon. Volume 4 of Lord of Goblins might drop in the coming months. Also, we just launched Chernocasters with RPG, also available on Amazon. And then later, we'll also be releasing Black Market, also with RPG. So yeah, keep a lookout for those if you want to read with RPGs or progression fantasy.
Okay. And one last question. What any merch? Y'all doing any merch for Lord of Goblins or anything coming soon? Because I've seen a lot of people in those comment sections ask, for some Lord of Goblins merch. So do y'all have anything y'all want to say to that?
I mean, on the business perspective, Webtoon owns the rights to Lord of Goblins merch. So we will have to talk to them about it.
All right.
we probably will. Yeah, that's something where we might handle it kind of like we did with the translations, where we might do a little bit of the preparation for them and then kind of help them along with it.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. I think G back. I think he had some technical difficulties he was trying to he was dealing with from the beginning. You can hear us, G?
Yeah, I lost internet.
Yeah,
damn.
I figured because you was frozen for a while.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it like cut out for a second. I was like, "What the heck?" So I went to check my router and it was blinking.
Yeah.
For a second, I was a little worried because you were like this.
He froze.
Yeah.
No, he froze. That's why I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh man, he froze. We lost him."
Yeah. 5 minutes later, you were still like this. I was like, "Oh, he's just frozen."
He's
no,
gone.
I think he frozen. Oh, okay. No, he's back. So.
Yeah, he froze. All right.
I was like, "What the heck?" I heard you guys talking and it just went like your faces are all just look the same, and I was like, "What the hell?" So I'm looking around. But yeah, it's the internet.
Good old internet. G, anything you want to say? We were just wrapping up. Any questions or anything else you had? Okay.
You're good.
All right. So that's it for this one.
Or wrap myself
go ahead.
up.
Oh.
No, I said before my internet decides to wrap up for me.
Okay. All right. So that's it for this one. Appreciate everybody for stopping by. Definitely go and make sure to check out Lord of Goblins. That link to the webtoon will be in the description as well. Moon, can you also send me the one you was talking about that's on Canvas, so I can put that in the description as well for people who want to check it out?
Right.
Will do. Yep.
Yeah. What you say, G?
Yeah.
It was Revenant. I was checking it out already.
Yeah. It's in the Discord group.
Okay.
But yeah, it's the art's really they have really good like movement. Like all of the panels are very stylized, so that the action feels really, really good.
All right, definitely gonna give that a look. Definitely gonna get that look and check that one out. But again, appreciate both of y'all for stopping by. I always enjoy to talk to you guys. Whenever y'all ready to do another one, just let us know. We'll be here, be ready to do it. And if you guys enjoyed, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, share it out, and we will catch y'all next time. Peace.
Have a good one. Bye.
Peace.